There are multiple languages that exist worldwide, yet many people do not even know of their existence. Each has its unique culture and people behind it. Over the past century alone, around 400 languages, about one every 3 months, have gone extinct, and most linguists estimate that 50% of the world's remaining 6,500 languages will be gone by the end of this century. One of the languages included in the endangered category is the Arapaho language. The Arapaho people survived the Americans taking away their land and are still here to this day. This shows that they are survivors. Therefore, the Sal Save a Language Foundation should help them keep their language alive by donating $1 million to the community. The language should be saved because it is used to pass down the Arapaho culture, including traditions and stories. It has an emotional connection to its people. It is a unique language. It is being used to make a positive change in the Arapaho community, and if the Arapaho people are trying to preserve it, then help should be offered to the community to help them succeed. To start off, the Arapaho people call themselves the Inuha'ena, which means your people. They originated in the states of Wyoming and Colorado. In the 1800s, Americans began to colonize Native American lands. When this occurred, the Arapaho people were one of the few tribes that decided not to fight with the Americans because they believed they could come up with some sort of compromise. For this reason, they were known as peaceful people. This just made it easier for the Americans to take over their land. This caused a split between the tribe, creating the southern and northern Arapaho tribes. The language belongs to the Algonquin language family. It is native to the Great Plains, and in some cases it has been used to create English-speaking words such as canoe and moose. Now the language is mainly spoken in Oklahoma and Wyoming. Most of the people who speak the language live in the Wing River Reservation, located in the state of Wyoming. The factor that led to the beginning of the loss of the Arapaho language was the takeover of Indian lands by Americans. In the article, Its Native Tongue Facing Extinction, Arapaho Tribe Teaches the Young, by Dan Frosch, it states, like other tribes, the Northern Arapaho have suffered from the legacy of Indian boarding institutions, established by the federal government in the late 1800s to Americanize Native American children. When Americans took over the Native American lands, they wanted every Native American to learn English and to leave their native language behind. They began by creating schools where the Native American children could only speak English. If the children spoke in their native language, they were punished by being hit with a ruler by their teachers. The young boys were not even allowed to wear their braids to school. This disciplinary action that was taken by these institutions affected a whole generation of Native Americans because tribal members stopped passing down their language because of the punishments that the children received at school. This is the reason why the language began to slowly fade away. The language is quickly disappearing because the amount of people who speak Arapaho is low, which is why it is important that action be taken. Many languages worldwide are becoming extinct due to the fact that most of the speakers are of old age and quickly passing away. Newer stated, there are some famous cases. Marie Smith Jones passed away in Alaska in 2008, taking the Eyak language with her, but usually they are older individuals, often in fallen health, who don't advertise their language skills. What Newer is trying to say is that many languages only have maybe one or more people who speak it. Once these elderly people pass away, the language dies with them if it is not recorded and documented, or if it is not taught to someone else. Also, if only one person speaks a language and that one individual has no one to practice the language with, their mind slowly begins to forget it, which is why it is essential that a language is passed down from one person to another. This is concerning for the Arapaho people because from a community made up of 5,955 members, only 1,000 speak the Arapaho language. All of the people who can speak Arapaho are 55 years of age. Most of these first language speakers are located in Oklahoma. The Arapaho tribe members are concerned that if they do not begin to start teaching the younger generation their native language, then the older members will pass away, one day taking away their spite of the effort that is being made to save the Arapaho language, not everyone believes that the language should be saved because of Darwinism. Some people argue that the language loss, like species loss, is simply a fact of life on an ever-evolving planet. Many agree with Charles Darwin's theory of Darwinism, which is the theory that species evolve because of natural selection, and believe that language should evolve as well, even if it means losing languages along the process. Multiple people say that losing something is a part of growing up. What many people fail to realize is that by letting a language die, the traditions and the stories that go along with the language, its culture disappear as well. Also, each language has its own unique culture that makes it different from other languages. Nowhere said, finally, languages are ways of interpreting the world, and no two are the same. As such, they can provide insight into neurology, psychology, and the linguistic capacities of our species. Different languages provide distinct pathways of thought and frameworks for thinking and solving problems. The way one language teaches something can vary from another language. Each one has its own set of grammatical systems and rules. Some languages have words that have a very specific meaning, while other languages may have a word similar to it, but the definition may be vague. Therefore, each language has something to offer the world, and evolution should not be the reason why a language is allowed to disappear. Although language is supposed to be a form of communication, some may argue that if multiple people cannot speak the language, then it is being ineffective. Crispin Holmes stated, "To me, language is a means of communication, and if a language dies, then it obviously did not serve as a useful tool of communication. A language does not have to be spoken by many people to be considered an effective language. For the Arapaho people, their goal is to keep their language alive, so that their traditions and culture can be passed on through their people. They are not concerned with making it a worldwide language, but with keeping it strong enough to continue passing it on. A person might want to learn a language even if it is not commonly known because they find it interesting or because they have an emotional connection to it. The Arapaho tribe want the younger generation to learn the language because it is a language their ancestors spoke. It is used to pass down their stories and traditions. Another concern is that today the top 10 languages in the world claim around half of the world's population. This is concerning because it is leading people to believe that the world is becoming a monolingual species. This will cause language diversity to decline, which means all kinds of languages will disappear at faster rate, taking with them their culture. For this reason, even though Arapaho is not a dominant language, the South Foundation should help revive the language because it is important to the Arapaho people and they are emotionally connected to it. At this instant, one of the actions that has already been taken to help save the Arapaho language is the creation of a new school. In this school, the only language that is spoken is Arapaho. The point to only speaking Arapaho is so that the children can effectively learn and ultimately be able to speak Arapaho. The school is located in the reservation of Wyoming, and the current budget to keep it running is $340,000 a year. The school is currently funded by private owners and tribe members. In the article, its native tongue facing extinction, Arapaho tribe teaches the young. Don Frost states, "This environment is a complete reversal of what often occurs in schools, where a child is ridiculed or reprimanded for speaking one's heritage language. Unlike the boarding schools that were created for Native Americans to learn English, this one is supposed to be a safe environment where children can speak their cultural language. This school is considered a safe place where the cultural language is actually valued and honored. Studies show that language fluency among young Indians is tied to overall academic achievement, and experts say such learning can have other positive effects. The Wyoming Arapaho tribe have been experiencing trouble with the teenagers from the community. The student dropout rate has reached 52% and crime activities keep rising. Most recently, in June, 3 teenage girls were found dead in a low-income housing complex. The FBI has not yet released autopsy reports, but many tribal members think drugs or alcohol were involved. The tribal members of the community are hoping that this school makes a positive change for their teens. If the teenagers put in an effort to participate in the school, they will be able to enhance their cultural pride." Another idea that can contribute to helping the Arapaho language survive is the use of technology. One very effective way of getting people to participate in the learning process is through the use of an app. The app would include multiple levels and opportunities to increase a person's score. This way, the app can be competitive and encourage people to participate. The app will also involve the use of games so that it can catch younger people's attention. Some would argue that the use of the app would not be a good idea because not everyone owns technology needed to use the app. This is where the South Foundation steps in. If the foundation donated $1 million to the community, then the Arapaho people would be able to buy the necessary tools needed to make the app. The Arapaho tribal members could also build a center where they would have computers where anyone could walk in and use them. This way, people who do not own phones can have a location where they can use the application. The money will make a positive contribution to the Arapaho community. To conclude, the South Foundation should donate the $1 million to the Arapaho community so that they can save their language. Yes, there are many languages worldwide that are dying and slowly fading away, but the Arapaho people have an emotional connection to their language. They are actually showing that they want to save their heritage language by creating the school. They want to be able to keep passing down their tradition and stories, and for this, people need to learn the language. The Arapaho people are survivors, and for this reason, so is their language.